Hello, Huge Lake and movie fanatic Nate, reporting from Lake Nate, somewhere in Minnesota, on a beautiful, amazing, glorious late May day in 2014. I'm here to review the B motion picture made in Wisconsin, Bill Rebane's Rana, the Legend of Shadow Lake. I first saw this movie in pretty much late 1991. There was this video store not far from our house called Mr. Movie, by the name of Mr. Movies, which is a big movie chain back in the 80s and early 90s. I think there might even still be some around, but if there is, it's not many. I don't think really in Minnesota, but possibly other states. Mr. Movies was it was like the Blockbuster of the 80s. It was probably the biggest corporate video store that I was aware of in my burg, and I was aware of this previously viewed VHS of Rana at this particular Mr. Movies, and I had told my dad about it, and this is how great my dad was. He basically ended up buying it for my birthday, which was very gracious and very nice. So I got Rana, this big box, really cool big box VHS version of Rana, the Legend of Shadow Lake, for my birthday, previously viewed from my dad. And this big box version of Rana, Legend of Shadow Lake, features a painting, an illustration done by the same guy, you can tell it's the signature on the box, the same guy who did the illustration for the original media VHS release of Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the famous art which no one really knows anything about anymore unless you're my age, of like Sally's eyes and then the Leatherface in this like running, coming at you. He's got the chainsaw, he's in the suit and these crazy eyes in the mask, and he's got one leg crossed over the other. It's this famous cover, which, like I say, is long since forgotten, but was the only cover at the time of me getting into Texas Chainsaw Massacre in '88. So it's kind of cool that the guy who did that cover did this particular cover for Rana, The Legend of Shadow Lake, which my VHS was released by Active Video, which of course I've never heard of, and you probably haven't either. So Bill Rebane I briefly knew in 2006 when I mailed him a DVD of one of my shorts that I had recently made, just because I'm like, well, Bill Rebane was selling DVDs of Rana, Legend of Shadow Lake, and I'm like, oh, okay, well, let me see what this is like, see if it's any better quality, which unfortunately it isn't, than the VHS. But that aside, I also mailed, along with my money, to order it, a copy of my DVD, just because how cool would it be for the guy, I grew up with Rana, Legend of the Shadow Lake, how cool would it be for that guy to see my movie? He not only saw it, but I got a phone call several days later, wasn't even a week later, that he had watched my movie a couple times, my short, and liked it, and I went up to see him within, I think, a couple days, and very, very northernmost tip of Wisconsin, and in retrospect, I don't know why I went up there, but it was cool. I've talked with him on and off for the rest of that year, I believe. I don't know. Again, I don't know why. Just kind of did. So in retrospect, I mean, it's very cool to have met the guy who made this is one of my favorite, B schlock movies of all time. And how cool is that to meet the guy who made it? I had no idea in '91 in December when, me and my dad and my best friend at the time were watching it and laughing at it, that I would ever meet the guy who made it. How unbelievably cool is that? So on to the review. Rana, The Legend of Shadow Lake is very much, again, what's it called? Oh, Creature from the Black Lagoon kind of a monster. This monster is actually a guy in a rubber suit again, which is much cooler than the rubber suit monster from Bog. I'd say it's not obviously as cool as Creature from the Black Lagoon, but it's up there. It's pretty impressive. You see it a little too well at the end, and its flippers are flapping a little bit, but when he's on dry land. But this movie is probably my favorite Bill Rebane movie. It's also the first Bill Rebane movie I've ever seen. It's probably my favorite because, like so many other movies of this subgenre, because of where it takes place in green, beautiful summer time, Wisconsin, beautiful green settings and lake wood settings and all this and that. It features Features some pretty goofy acting. I love it. This one guy who plays this little boy, I was actually, at the same time I was in contact with Bill Rebane, I was in email contact with him because I potentially was talking to him about being in something that I was going to do. So I thought that would be really cool to have this boy who was featured in Rana from Shadow Lake and something I was going to do. I sent him a DVD of my short that I sent Bill, and he was none too impressed, so that ended our email collaboration. But what the hell, you know, it's worth a shot. Not everyone likes everything, so it still would have been cool to have that kid who I mean, he's not a kid now, but the kid from Rana in something that I did. But what the hell, it's no big deal. So Rana from Legend of all these titles. I was like, Rana, the Legend from Shadow Lake. At the time, I didn't know Rana was like the Spanish word for frog, ain't it? So I didn't know. We always thought it was, before we actually saw the movie, I thought it was Rana, because it's like R-A-N-A, and to me, we always said Rana, but it's Rana. Again, features, if I can stay on track for a moment, it features a very cool location and lake location and horrible acting and a relatively attractive young girl. But the acting is so bad, but it's bad in a good way. I mean, this is phenomenal.
Kelly, what are we gonna do now?
I know. We'll think of something.
And I think Troma actually currently owns the rights to Rana, the Legend of Shadow Lake, and they renamed it Croaked, I believe. And I think maybe they're even selling DVDs of Croaked. I don't know. I've kind of since given up trying to find a decent version of it. But I put my original VHS on DVD, which is actually better than the DVD I bought from Bill himself, which is fine for me. I mean, hell, it looks great. It looks fine enough. And the cool thing about the DVD that Bill was selling is it has this cool thing which I never would have, which maybe I'll put in this review, which I never would have ever probably saw had I not bought the DVD, which was this really cool, this, you know, local news station at the time they were making Rana, did a little piece on the making of Rana, which was really cool. So probably some of the only behind the scenes you'll ever see in a Bill Rebane production. So that was included on the DVD, and that was worth just buying it all on its own.
There isn't the slightest chance I'll ever get sick of this business.
Cut. Beautiful. Beautiful.
Bill Rebane's business is movie making, and he makes them in northern Wisconsin. The titles aren't always ones you'll see on your local marquee for months at a time. Rebane's movies are more drive-in theater and TV late show fare.
The Capture Bigfoot was the one previous to, just before this. Title is self-explanatory. Then we had, of course, the Giant Spider Invasion, which was 1975, which became one of the top-grossing films in 1975.
They came from another planet to destroy the Earth. Giant spiders, crushing, clawing, killing, wreaking havoc. There was no place to hide from them. They were everywhere.
I think it grossed somewhere around $11, $12 million. All of that was done here. We used a lot of personalities from the West Coast.
The here that Rebane refers to is a secluded spot between Merrill and Tomahawk in Lincoln County. A movie-making home, complete with soundstage, outdoor sets, and editing facilities. Now in the making, Rana, the Legend of Shadow Lake. A science fiction epic that pits the inhabitants of a small, isolated island against, you'll never guess this one, an indignant giant frog.
Something got me, I tell you. Something big grabbed my leg and tried to pull me under.
Yeah, sure. I send you out to get that crazy son of a bitch and something gets you instead.
Yeah. You see, something did get me. Got me good.
Looks like I got caught in some barbed wire.
Yeah.
The term B-movie is probably the most apropos for this. But that's only because we don't have the budgets to make the A-movies.
Most Hollywood movies are multi-million-dollar productions. Not Rana. This made-in-Wisconsin flick will cost only $250,000.
Rolling and action.
Perhaps you can see why this isn't a big-budget production. There aren't any high-priced actors here. Producer Jerry Gregoris doubles as the character Trapper Charlie. The makers of Rana readily acknowledge that theirs isn't the stuff of social commentary or great art.
Cut. I'm headed. Can I ask you something?
Entertainment, pure and simple. It's an escapist type movie, and I'd say it was built for the very large segment, I think, of the population that does enjoy creature, feature, horror movies.
This type of film, you know, what you call formula picture, formula monster movie, so to say, the drive-in market is obviously the greatest, and the foreign distribution is fantastic. They like monster movies. You know, this is their type of fare.
Where's the rest of you?
Direct from Manitowoc, the hero of this film, Alan Ross. In this scene, Ross confronts a pair of roughneck loggers who have aggravated the ferocious frog and caused panic on the island. Familiar B-movie formula. The loggers are played by Bruno Acklin, who choreographed this scene, and Kenosha actor Jim Iaquinta.
Coming in over here, he's bent over a little bit like this. Now, as soon as you hear my hand slap, you fly back, okay?
Are you gonna knee me?
I'm gonna knee you.
Oh, no.
I'm not gonna hit you. I'm just gonna come. As soon
So
as you
you're
hear my
giving me a
hands
jab
make
like
noise.
this?
I've just gone boom in your stomach. Ooh. Burley runs up to you. You're starting to get up. Start getting up. Now, and you fall on the ground. His head's back in place. Wham! And that one drives you to the ground.
The fight scene was excellent as far as the feedback I received from other people. It was a little rough, but you know, I'm kind of nimble. I'm a little dirty, but other than that, it was good, and I hope it looked real.
Hey! Now you watch it.
Cut. Beautiful. Beautiful. Cut it.
Yeah, applause, applause.
Yeah, I forgot. Okay, now let's pick up the lines. You want any close shots?
The action is Rana grabs hold of this guy. You don't see it.
Makeup artist Tom Schwartz.
And he's got this wound from it. And what happens is we're making this, he's got this slime all over him. Of course, gets over every victim and whatever else. Whoever you see, puddles of slime, you know, this creature has been.
That's beautiful. Oh, I like it.
Just running into the woods.
Any living tissue touches the slime and starts to smoke.
Okay, let's go.
Quiet, please. Slate in.
Okay.
Wait a second.
Overspray.
Overspray.
Too God, it's those beans.
Take your hands over.
It's a chemical that's sold in California. It's two different spray bottles. You will spray one on whatever else, say your palm. Spray another one on the other palm. You touch it together and it starts to smoke.
Hey, what the hell is this shit?
Cut.
Get it?
You got it. 108A, 385. Action.
There, you see? Something did get me.
The B-movie formula is well known,
good.
but the frog isn't. This is all you'll see at the giant amphibian until his box office face-off next year.
There's like this, you know, this lake features just a treasure trove of gold or something like that. This old guy who I think is supposed to be, I don't know if he's supposed to be an Indian, but this old guy who I can't remember the guy who played him right now. The guy who played him, but this Charlie is his old. He's probably the best actor in the movie. He does a phenomenal job at playing this old hermit guy. This just Charlie who knows everything. This kid talks to Charlie all the time and gets all the information about the history of the, you know, Shadow. I don't think you ever hear it called Shadow Lake in a movie, but that's what it's called in the title.
One day, this angel, he come to this lake, and he reaches into his pouch where he get that yellow pebble that he plumb forgot about. And for no reason, he take it and he throws it in the lake.
Then what happened?
Ooh, then almighty hell broke loose. The water swirled and it bubbled, and out of the center of it come this creature.
Creature?
Well, you know, half man, half frog.
We find out all the history of basically this Rana, this frog monster, is the guardian of this big treasure trove of gold, which is located at the bottom of the lake. You got these three logger guys who aren't really logger guys, but they're the guys who are pretending to be loggers, who are actually got word that there's this big treasure trove of gold somewhere in the depths of Shadow Lake. So they go to Shadow Lake pretending to be loggers. They've cut down a few trees just for show, but they really actually have an ulterior motive, which is to discover the gold of Shadow Lake. But Rana, the legend of Shadow Lake, which is no legend at all, it's a reality, fervently guards this treasure trove, and as is prophesied by the prophecy, as prophesized by Charlie, the old gray-haired hermit of which again is probably one of the better actors, if not the best actor in the movie. He's phenomenal as the old crotchety hermit. He's not crotchety, but the old hermit Charlie. So we've got some lame ass scenes where you see this pretty attractive younger girl dancing in a tent, but the only it's basically a shot. I don't understand this shot, quite frankly, because all it is a shot of her hips. And maybe I'll show a shot of it. It's like the most ridiculous shot you could ever want, but it's in Rana, The Legend of Shadow Lake. So again, a movie I haven't seen for a while, but maybe I should, take a look at my DVD that I made off of my VHS one of these days, as it is that time of year to watch these movies, Rana, these lake-related horror movies. I'm not too sure I can think about any more for Rana, The Legend of Shadow Lake. There's some really cool slow motion shots in Rana where people die very slowly with that classical piece of music that was featured in the opening credits of the original Dracula. I don't know what the piece is, but it's that dun, 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 dun. I know you guys love it when I do musical things with my mouth. Some relatively cool slow motion deaths in this movie. Relatively lame death effects also, but there's some absolutely beautiful lake photography in this movie. If I may be honest and serious about something for a few moments, there's absolutely gorgeous lake photography in this movie as well, as a side note. And that's one of the biggest pluses about this movie, is the whole movie is basically gorgeous. It's the majority of it shot outdoors in a beautiful green, woods lake setting, and it's absolutely gorgeous. So I'm gonna go, this is my highest rating for any Bill Rebane movie that I've ever seen. Again, like the past couple reviews, 3 stars for Rana, The Legend of Shadow Lake. And a lot of that, maybe half of it, or half of a point of a star, is just for the WTF factor, which of course is a factor that I think is hugely important in these kind of movies. They make these kind of movies completely and totally, make these movies in general. So thank you very much for watching my review of Lana, the Legend of... Yeah, the plane's distracting me, okay? Thank you. Hold on. So thank you very much for watching my review of Bill Rebane's Rana, The Legend of Shadow Lake, which I believe you could probably order at the Troma website if you look for the title Croaked. Excuse me, Troma owns the rights to this movie now under the title Croaked, which is too bad. I've often thought back in 06 I should buy the fucking negative myself, but then I decided not to because it's not worth it, you know. So what would I do with it? So thank you very much for watching my review of Rana, the Legend of Shadow Lake.